A Fox News host just humiliated Mike Johnson straight to his face on live TV. You're going to want to stick around to see this because it is a truly stunning moment to witness. But before we get into this amazing clip, I think it's important to see what prompted this Fox News host to go off, because Mike Johnson spent the entire time on this interview spewing lies and manipulation to their viewers. In fact, one of the very first things that he said was that they were transitioning away from Bidenomics and a terrible economy. Just take a look at this.
Yes, the president is now, 45 days into his administration.
Something like that.
We're transitioning from Bidenomics and the just terrible economy that was delivered by the last administration. It takes a while to turn that ship around, but we are doing that. And the Congress is working to codify all the executive orders that the president is doing.
If this was one of the first things that came out of his mouth, I think it's easy to see how this interview could go even further downhill. For example, here is Mike Johnson telling on himself and all Republicans about how they really don't care about facts or data when it comes to political discussions.
Look, this next generation, the generation behind us, is so thirsty for authenticity. They just see all this performance stuff, and it's detestable to them, and they want something that's real. And in a podcast format, you can't hide. It's just very authentic. You can't follow a script. You just have to sit down and speak. And the problem is, many of the leaders on the left can't do that. They can't sit down and have a dialogue, because what they really think and feel is opposed by the people. So it's a great format for us. We want to explore that even more. And if I had more time, I'd do one every day. But we're trying to schedule that in and make sure that we're reaching those audiences, because they need to hear what we're about. I genuinely believe our policies are better for everyone. And the more that we can explain that and demonstrate it, the better off the country is going to be.
When you actually take a second to think about it, it makes sense why people on the left like to have a bit more structure to their political discussions. Because we on the left actually use facts, data, and reason, unlike Republicans who just spout nonsense and lies. Things that actually work tend to be a bit more complicated than just saying, I'm going to lower the price of groceries. We on the left like to explain how we will lower those prices and why what we're going to do will work. The right, on the other hand, relies on empty promises with no facts or data behind it. So it's no wonder they have an easier time just getting out on podcasts and just talking, because there's no thought behind it. Speaking of, here's Mike Johnson putting exactly this into action and claiming that Democrats send protesters to fill up town halls, when those protesters are really just people upset with what's going on.
But with regard to the town halls, look, I mean, we have Republicans who want to go out and be among their constituents and hear their concerns and dialogue with them. It's a big part of the job. But the problem is they're being ambushed right now by what are some, in many cases, paid protesters. You got George Soros-funded groups. They're very well organized. That's one thing Democrats do very well, is this organization, right? And they go an hour or two early before the event. They fill all the seats. And so the actual constituents of these Republican members can't actually make it into the arenas. And so it's not a productive dialogue at all. They're just walking into an ambush. So we've encouraged our members to think thoughtfully about that. There are a lot of ways now with technology to be in constant dialogue with your constituents. You can do telephone town halls and get 10,000 people on the phone at the same time. You can have small group meetings with industry or organization groups or various parts of your community, and to be very productive. So we want to do the job, do it well, do it efficiently and effectively, and walking into a staged production like that doesn't serve anyone's interest.
So all of this has started to make one of the Fox News hosts a little upset, because she's realizing that everything Johnson has been saying is just pure BS. So she started to push back on him a little bit. Just take a look at this.
What do you say to the people across the country who work for the VA who can't man the suicide hotline now because Elon has fired them? Like, what is your message to them? Because they're getting mad at Republicans.
Yeah, look, we have to take care of our veterans, and the VA needs employees who are doing this noble work. I think the president kind of did a recalibration yesterday. He brought in Elon and he brought in the cabinet secretaries, and they had a dialogue about the process. You have to formalize more of this. Now, look, in Elon's defense, there is no playbook for what he's doing. This has never been done before. So as he acknowledged, there are going to be some mishaps and mistakes along the way, but we will do course correction immediately, and that's what you'll see.
And finally, this led to her absolutely humiliating Mike Johnson straight to his face by calling him out, finally saying that these cuts are really just hurting the American citizens. Take a look at this amazing clip.
Look, I worked in the federal government for 10 years. There are certainly ways it could be more efficient. This is moving fast and breaking things and hurting a lot of people in the process. And the government shouldn't be in the business of firing a veteran who served their country for 20 years and then having to fix it later. I don't trust that it will fix it later. I just don't. And you can come up, look, there are a lot of comical things that President Trump mentioned at the State of the Union that you mentioned about the government was spending money on. A lot of things that are getting cut are cancer research. Support for scientists across this country saving the lives of children with cancer. That's just one. So we can talk about cuts, but doing it this way hurts Americans. It's irresponsible. And quite frankly, that's why you see not just paid protesters, with all due respect, some constituents in Republican districts who are coming to these town halls and saying, I'm a veteran. I lost my job. I have come to work every day. How can you? And Elon Musk makes millions of dollars every day from the American government. And you're firing these people.
Do you agree this is race, or do you feel...
Oh, no, I don't think it's racist. Sorry.
Okay.
I didn't answer that part of the question. No, I just think it's irresponsible and harmful.
Well, stay tuned, because it's going to be corrected. And I've talked to Elon about this personally, and many of us have it. He has completely pure motives. He's trying to make the government work better for the people. All the people and the essential employees and the people doing great work will come back.
It's so refreshing to see these Republicans being called out straight to their face, because we all know that these cuts aren't actually helping everyday Americans, but Republicans like Mike Johnson keep saying that they are. This is exactly what we need more of. We need to work to hold our politicians accountable, but unfortunately, no amount of accountability will ever reach Trump or Musk.